What's up, everybody? I just wanted to talk to you guys about my fitness journey and how I even got into fitness in the first place. As a kid growing up, I never really exercised much and I never really ate that healthy, and I would play video games all day. And so this led me to gain a lot of weight. I was very fat. Most of the clothes that I tried on did not fit me. It all led up to the point where I became 14 years old, and that's when things got even worse because I continued to have these bad habits and I just kept getting bigger and bigger and even more unhealthy. And so it was always embarrassing. People used to always make fun of me, talk about how I was the fattest, call me the fat kid. You know, I was that fat kid that everyone made fun of. But when I was 14, I moved here to California on January 5th, 2012, if I remember correctly. And that was one of the things that lit that fire inside me. But it did not light up right away. When I first moved to California, I was very depressed. Not only because of the fact that my dad passed away about when I was 8 years old. I was still holding on to that memory, but also I was just sad that I had to leave all my friends and all my family behind. So I came to California very angry, with an attitude, mad at everyone and everything that I saw, and I absolutely did not even want to be in California. But I would have to say that it's probably one of the biggest blessings that I've probably had in my whole life. And so as a 14-year-old, I didn't really do much. And so if you look at this picture right here, you can see that I was very overweight. I was probably at around 185 pounds at that time, most of it fat. And so if you look at my eyes, you can see how depressed I was, how miserable I felt, and how much I hated my life at this point. And I just didn't really know what to do with myself. I had no friends, I did not know anyone, didn't really talk to anyone, I was super shy. And so eventually, my stepbrothers, we had our P90X thing at our house. We had like a whole package, all the CDs and stuff. And so I thought one day, man, why don't I try it out? I saw all those 30-day, 60 days, and 90-day transformations, and I was like, man, it would be so cool if I could do that. And so that's what really motivated me to start getting into fitness. So P90X was my #1 workout that I first started in my whole entire life, where I became super serious with it. And so I would just stay home and I would just lift weights and just follow the CDs and do the workouts. And then I started eating a little bit more healthier. I started doing more cardio and I started getting a little bit stronger. But what I noticed was that I started to get very skinny and I looked almost like a twig, and you can see that in this picture right here. And so at that time I was still in 8th grade, so I didn't really understand what else I could do to actually gain muscle. So when I became a freshman in high school, that's when I started getting into lifting weights. So it all started when I went into the weight room, and the first thing I did was bench press. #1 thing. I loved it. And ever since then, I just started working out. I started doing all the other type of exercises that you can in the weight room at Singer High School. And then that's basically how I got used to it. And that's how I got into watching a lot of YouTube videos. That's how I started developing my own routine to go every single day. And then I started seeing results. And the reason why I say YouTube is one of my biggest motivations is because I had 3 or 4 channels that I watched consistently in order to give myself some knowledge on fitness and bodybuilding in general. And so the channels that really formed my knowledge, or just gave me knowledge in general, was POG, Physiques of Greatness, with Chris Jones and Vince Garza. And it was Low Budget Lean Muscle with Jonathan Megan. And then Twin Muscle Workout, I'm sure you guys all know about them. And then I also watched Endomorph Beast. He had a lot of recipes and cooking videos, which I really enjoyed. And so as I watched all these videos, I gained a lot more knowledge, and I put what I learned from those videos into my own actions. And so that's how I started seeing more results, and that's how I started becoming more bulkier. And so if you look at this picture right here, I was at about 160 pounds. I started gaining more weight. Now, I wasn't the most biggest person in the whole wide world, but you can see the difference from my 140-pound picture to my 160-pound picture. And so I was really proud of myself at that point, because I started seeing a different person in me, not only physically, but just mentally in general. I started becoming more motivated, more confident in myself, and I just felt good overall as a person. And so after that, I started learning more about bodybuilding and learning about how you had to add more calories into your diet in order to build more muscle. And in that process, you might gain a little bit of fat, but it's okay. And so what I decided to do was I decided to go do a dirty bulk, which is basically, you know, when you go eat whatever the hell you want. You can eat shitty all the time you want, and you just continue to work out and lift weights. And so I started doing that, and what I would do was, I remember in the summertime, I think I was a sophomore or junior at the time. In the summertime, I would walk to my gym, work out, and I would walk back. That was my cardio for the day, but I would still consistently eat a lot of calories. And so at that point, I went all the way up to about 215 pounds. So if you look at this picture right here, you can really see that I gained a lot of weight, but under all that weight, it's like fat and muscle all combined together, because I got really strong when I went up to 215 pounds. Now, after that phase of dirty bulking, I finally realized that I was getting too fat, so I decided to cut down. And so in that process of cutting down, I did a lot of cardio. I cut down my calories, but I still lifted heavy, still worked out, still kept up with my routines. And I also joined a sport. Now, the funny thing is, I never knew how to swim in my whole entire life, but once I joined this sport, which was swimming, I learned how to swim. It's kind of crazy, but I guess it's true what they say, you know, you learn how to swim by just throwing yourself out there into the water. And so that's what I did. And so junior year was probably one of my years where I was probably the most fittest, because I was lifting weights consistently and I was also swimming all the time. And so I remember all the time when I would go out there with my friend Huova, we would go out there for practice, we would go out there and swim, and then after that we would come to my house, and it would be dark, probably at around 6 or 7 p.m. And then what we would do is we would just run to the gym at night, and that's what kind of motivated us to run a little bit faster, because of the fact that it was so dark that it was kind of scary, you know. So we ran even faster to the gym, and then when we got to the gym, we did our workouts normally. And so when we got to the gym, usually our skin is like super dry because of all the chlorine from the swimming pools. And then we just work out and we would smell like chlorine, and the whole gym would smell. It was pretty funny. But then that was when I was the most active, the most motivated, the most everything. And if you look at this picture right here, in that picture, I was at about 160 pounds. I'm not for sure, but I'm guessing 160 pounds. And that's when I was at the most, I believe, the most leanest and the most muscular in my whole entire life. And, you know, I never had six-pack abs. It was really hard for me to get that. It would be nice to have it, but, you know, that's not my main priority. I also wanted to talk about how after that, I started to lose track of myself, and I started to kind of stray away from the fitness area of my life. And so the way that happened was my senior year. My senior year, I tried out for wrestling. And so for wrestling, I suffered an injury, and that's what really set me back. And on top of that, I started working, and then I started eating unhealthy again, and all that stuff all combined, it kind of really took away from my motivation to even work out anymore. So for the wrestling injury that I had, what we were doing was we were doing drills where we had to pick up each other and slam each other into the floor. And so I had to go with this partner that I had, who was probably about 30 or 40 pounds heavier than me. And so what he did was he grabbed me and he slammed me onto the wrestling mat. And then I think what I did was I landed, somehow I landed wrong, and then it kind of messed up my shoulder ever since then. And then ever since that time, I just kind of stopped working out because the coach told me that you need to just sit out for a bit, don't do any physical work, because the more that you try to push yourself, the longer it'll take to heal. So what I decided to do was just sit around, do nothing all day, and I started to gain weight. And then at that time, I started working at Panda Express. And so if you look at that schedule, at my work schedule with my school schedule, it's kind of like I almost have no time. Because right after school, I go straight to work, and right after work, I go straight home, and I go straight to sleep, and I just wake up right again, and just repeat that process of just sleep, school, work, sleep, work, just repeating that process. And so, in a way, I feel like it did stress me out, because I lost my motivation. I had no way to exert all my stress, and I kind of just kept everything inside of me, and so it just never came out. What I noticed that happened when I did not work out was that I started to develop a negative mindset, especially at work. Whenever I was at work, I was always tired, and I always hated everything about work. But I came to the conclusion that it was probably because I did not get to work out. Because when I work out, I gave out all my stress. Sometimes I would have to stop myself from slamming some of the dishes at work, because I didn't notice it, but I would get told by my managers or people who work with me. They would come and tell me, you need to stop slamming all the dishes and stop being so loud when you're moving things. And I was like, oh damn, I never noticed that. And it's almost kind of like, I felt like I was trying to recreate that moment of when I was in the gym slamming the weights and stuff, because I love slamming the weights, especially doing deadlifts and stuff like that. It just makes me feel good for some reason. So I think I was kind of trying to recreate that moment without even noticing it. What I want to do is I want to bring back my old self. I want to get back into working out, creating a schedule to just really get back on track with my fitness goals. I'm not where I want to be right now, but hopefully I do get to where I want to be. And if you guys continue to watch this YouTube channel, hopefully you guys get to see the transformation. Now what I'm planning to do is I'm planning to start developing more fitness videos, so stay tuned for that. And so if you guys are interested in that, make sure you give this video a like, give it a subscribe, tell all your friends about it, just tell the whole world. And maybe we can make this world a better place. Alright, see you guys in the next video.